10 steps to build unshakable self-confidence. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. From the very beginning, when was the last time you fully believed in you? Not your potential, not your resume, not your mask. I mean the real you, the one who wakes up tired, scared, hopeful, brave, inconsistent, and still shows up. Because building unshakable self-confidence is not about perfection. Question. It's about ownership. Ownership of your story, your scars, your soul. So today, I want to walk you through 10 steps, not to become someone new, but to become unshakably you. 1, know who you are without the noise. Confidence begins in silence. You can't hear your inner voice if the world is screaming at you. Turn it down. No one else's timeline, success story, relationship status, or highlight reel matters. Take the time to reconnect with who you really are, because when you know yourself, no one else can define you. 2, keep promises to yourself. We trust people who keep their word, right? Now apply that same rule to you. Wake up when you say you will. Finish what you said you'd start. Confidence is the quiet reward of self-discipline. 3, embrace your flaws. That's where the power is. Your flaws are not failures. They are fingerprints. They are chapters in your story. Stop wishing them away. The moment you stop apologizing for who you are is the moment you begin to walk into your power. 4, take action before you feel ready. Confidence is not born in thinking. It's born in doing. Even the tiniest step taken in fear builds a giant within you. You don't wait for confidence to act. You act, and confidence follows. 5, speak kindly to yourself. Words shape identity. If someone spoke to your best friend the way you speak to yourself, would you let them? Every time you say, "I'm not good enough," you shrink your soul. Speak like someone worth loving because you are. 6, learn from setbacks. Don't personalize pain. You are not your mistakes. You are the lesson they carry. Fall down, but get up wiser. You didn't fail. You discovered what doesn't work. And now you're stronger for it. 7, surround yourself with believers. Confidence grows in good company. If you're constantly around people who belittle your dreams, you'll start to shrink to fit their comfort zone. Surround yourself with those who speak life into you. Their energy becomes your mirror. 8, stand tall physically and spiritually. How you carry yourself tells the world how you expect to be treated. Shoulders back, eyes forward, chin high. Confidence isn't arrogance, it's posture. Show up like you belong, even when you feel small. 9, visualize success daily. Before it's real, it has to be seen by you. See yourself speaking with clarity. See yourself walking into rooms like you own them. If you can hold the vision, you'll grow into it. Confidence is built in the imagination before it's expressed in reality. 10, stop waiting for permission. This is your life. You do not need anyone else's approval to live it boldly. Waiting for permission is the fastest way to stay stuck. You are not here to impress. You are here to impact. Now, listen closely. Unshakable self-confidence isn't loud. It's not the biggest ego in the room. It's quiet. It's grounded. It's the still, unbreakable belief that you are worthy just as you are and becoming even more. So go ahead, walk into the next chapter of your life like it was written for you, because it was. And the world is waiting for the real you to rise. Unshakable, unapologetic, unstoppable. When the world gets too loud, when expectations start screaming in your ears, when social media becomes a mirror of comparison, when the voices of others start sounding louder than your own, you begin to forget. Forget who you really are. We live in a world where everyone seems to have something to say about who you should be. Be more this, be less that, speak up, sit down. Be bold, but don't be intimidating. Be humble, but don't let anyone walk over you. It's a confusing, chaotic song, one that plays on loop if you're not careful. And before you know it, you start dancing to someone else's rhythm. You begin to lose your own beat. But here's the truth. Confidence, the unshakable kind, the type that isn't fazed by rejection, doesn't bend to criticism, and doesn't seek applause. It doesn't come from noise. It comes from silence, from quiet, from stillness, from within. It comes from the sacred space where no one else's voice can reach. That space inside you that already knows. It already knows who you are, what you value, what you believe in, and what matters to you. But most people never stop long enough to listen to that voice. They're too busy chasing validation, too busy trying to measure up to someone else's highlight reel. And in that race, we trade our identity for approval. We trade our truth for belonging. You don't need to do that anymore. There's something powerful about a person who truly knows who they are, not who they're pretending to be, not who they think they should be, but who they really are. Someone who has taken the time to sit with their own soul and ask the hard questions. What do I stand for? What do I believe in? What breaks my heart? What lights me up? Who am I when no one is watching? When you answer those questions honestly, you start to walk differently in the world. You start to speak with a clarity that doesn't beg to be liked. You begin to show up in rooms without needing everyone to clap, because you've already validated yourself before you got there. And I'll tell you something else. When you know who you are, rejection loses its power. Because when someone says you're not good enough, you won't crumble. You'll simply say, I may not be for you, but I am enough for me. Knowing yourself also gives you direction. So many people feel lost, not because they lack ability, but because they've never looked inward to set their own compass. They're following maps designed by other people. Parents, teachers, society, influences. But confidence doesn't come from living someone else's dream. It comes from being brave enough to discover your own. And that discovery starts with permission. Your permission. You have to give yourself permission to disconnect, to unplug from the world's expectations, to take a break from performing, to turn off the noise. Because silence is not empty. Silence is full of answers. Sit with yourself. Not just when you're winning, not just when you're inspired. Sit with yourself when you're confused. Sit with yourself when you're grieving. Sit with yourself when everything is unclear. That's when the truth of who you are begins to rise. In the discomfort, in the stillness. And when you find it, when you find you don't ever go back. You begin to understand that your value isn't something others can give you or take away. You were born with it. It is not earned by achievements or popularity. It is revealed through self-awareness. True confidence is quiet, not because it lacks strength, but because it doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to prove anything. It simply is. And that kind of confidence only comes from knowing yourself so deeply, so completely, that no matter what the world says, you don't flinch. You've already decided who you are. And you're not asking for confirmation. So my invitation to you is this: go within. Spend less time scrolling and more time soul searching. Stop asking people to tell you who you are and start remembering it yourself. Because the world needs more people who are rooted, who are grounded, who walk into chaos and remain centered, not because life is easy, but because they know who they are in the middle of it all. And once you find that center, once you meet yourself in the silence, you'll never doubt yourself the same way again. You'll be unshakable. There is a kind of quiet power that lives inside people who keep their promises, not to others, but to themselves. We all know what it feels like to be let down by someone, to be told they'll show up and then they don't, to be told, I'll call you, I'll change, I'll be there, and it never happens. That kind of disappointment cuts deep, because trust is not something you're given, it's something you earn. And the same goes for the relationship you have with yourself. Every time you say, I'll get up early tomorrow, but hit snooze. Every time you whisper, I'll finally start that project this week and push it to the next. Every time you look in the mirror and say, this time I mean it, and still break your word. You're not just delaying your goals, you're eroding your own self-trust. Confidence isn't about pretending to be fearless. It's about proving to yourself that you are reliable, that when you say something, you mean it, that your word, even to yourself, is sacred. You see, people think confidence is something you're born with, but it's not. Confidence is something you build one small personal promise at a time. You don't have to make a dramatic leap to change your life. You just need to show up for yourself consistently. You keep one small promise, and then another, and another. And with every single one, your inner voice begins to shift. It begins to say, I trust you now. You've got me. You won't leave me hanging again. That voice, that's your foundation. That's your self-respect taking root. Think about how you treat someone who constantly breaks their word. Over time, you stop relying on them. You lower your expectations. You don't take their promises seriously. And unfortunately, many of us have learned to treat ourselves the same way. We don't believe our own declarations anymore. We've gotten used to hearing ourselves say, I'll change, I'll do better, tomorrow I'll begin, and we roll our eyes. Because deep down, we don't believe it. Not because we're lazy or unworthy, but because we've lost the habit of honoring our own word. But the beautiful truth is this, that trust can be rebuilt. It doesn't take grand gestures. You don't need to transform overnight. You just need to start small. Start where you are. Maybe it's waking up 10 minutes earlier. Just 10. Maybe it's drinking water first thing in the morning. Maybe it's saying, I will walk for 15 minutes, and then actually doing it. It's not about the task, it's about the message you're sending to yourself. The message is, I matter enough to show up. I value my own word. I keep promises to me. And that is the birthplace of true, unshakable confidence. Because confidence doesn't come from praise. It doesn't come from applause. It comes from evidence. It comes from the daily receipts you collect. Evidence that you show up when you say you will. So many people are walking around looking confident on the outside, but falling apart on the inside. They're performing, they're pretending, but deep down, they feel hollow because they know the truth. They don't trust themselves. But imagine if your relationship with yourself became the most trustworthy one in your life. Imagine waking up in the morning and knowing, if I say I'll do it, I'll do it. Imagine setting a goal and not wondering if you'll follow through, but knowing that you will, because you always do. That's the kind of quiet certainty that radiates strength. That's the kind of energy that walks into a room and doesn't need to prove a thing, because you've already proven it to yourself. And here's the beautiful paradox. Once you keep promises to yourself, you no longer crave validation from anyone else. You don't need constant motivation. You don't need someone to cheer you on, because you've become your own proof, your own anchor, your own accountability. That's the power of internal respect. Now, let's be honest. You will mess up sometimes. You will fall short. You will say, I'll do it tomorrow, and then you won't. You're human, but that's not failure. That's a reminder, a chance to realign, to recommit. The promise isn't about being perfect. The promise is about returning, coming back to yourself again and again, because you are worth that. And one day you'll look back and realize you didn't just change your habits. You didn't just achieve your goals. You rebuilt the most important relationship in your life. Say the one with you. And that kind of self-trust, that's not just confidence. That's freedom. There's a lie we've all been told, one that keeps people stuck for years. A lie that sounds wise, even responsible. The lie says, wait until you're ready. Wait until the timing is right. Wait until you feel confident. Wait until you're more skilled, more prepared, more perfect. And while you're waiting, life quietly passes you by. But here's the truth. The honest, unpolished truth. You will never truly feel ready. Not for the big things, not for the things that stretch you, grow you, and call you into your next chapter. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes because of action. The more you do the thing, the more you trust yourself. And the more you trust yourself, the more confident you become. But too many people spend their lives thinking about change, planning it, visualizing it, journaling it. And those things have their place, but they're not enough. Because you can't think your way into confidence. You can't overanalyze your way into self-belief. You've got to move, even if your voice shakes, even if your hands tremble, even if you take one tiny step in fear. Because that step, that trembling, nervous, messy step, is stronger than 1,000 perfect plans that never leave your head. Confidence grows when you prove to yourself that you can do hard things. Not because you're fearless, but because you showed up anyway. We tend to imagine confident people as those who walk into a room knowing exactly what they're doing. But more often, real confidence looks like someone who doesn't know what they're doing, but believes they'll figure it out. They didn't wait until they had all the answers. They acted, they tried, they stumbled, and in the trying, they built belief. That's how growth works. You don't become brave and then take action. You take action, and that makes you brave. Think about a baby learning to walk. They don't wait until they're sure they won't fall. They stand, they wobble, they fall. And they do it again and again, not because they've read a manual on balance, but because something inside says, try again, take another step. And somewhere along the way, they do. They walk. That's how your confidence will grow. In motion, through attempts, through practice, through courage in the face of doubt. And yes, fear will walk beside you in the beginning. Let fear sit in the passenger seat. But don't give it the wheel. You drive. You decide. Because there's something waiting for you on the other side of action: self-respect, strength, power. But if you wait for fear to disappear, you'll be waiting forever. Fear doesn't leave first. Action does. There's a part of you that already knows what you're supposed to do. That calling, that idea, that change you've been circling for weeks, months, maybe even years, it's not random. It's an invitation, an assignment, a door. But it only opens when you walk toward it. You might say, but what if I fail? And I say, what if you do? You'll learn, you'll rise, you'll try again. You'll gain wisdom that no book, no video, no advice can teach you. Because experience is the best confidence coach you'll ever have. Every time you take action, even if it doesn't work out, you grow a little more certain of your ability to handle life. And that's the real definition of confidence. Not, I'll never fail, but even if I do, I'll be okay. You don't have to leap the whole staircase. Just take the next step, the one in front of you. Make the call, send the message, post the video, start the project, say the thing, apply for the opportunity, sign up for the class, walk into the room. You won't feel 100% ready, but do it anyway. That's the secret that confident people already know. They feel the fear and move forward anyway. And the more you do that, the more your brain, your body, your soul begins to understand, I can do hard things. I don't need certainty to move. I don't need permission to begin. One day, someone will look at you and say, you're so confident. How did you get there? And you'll smile because you'll know. You didn't wait. You didn't ask. You didn't sit on your dreams until they felt safe. You acted before you were ready. And in that action, you built something that no one can take from you. Your own belief in yourself. If I asked you to name every person you've ever shown kindness to, how long would it take for you to include yourself? We spend so much of our lives learning how to speak gently to others, how to lift them up, how to be a good friend, a good listener, a compassionate voice when they're hurting. But somehow, when it comes to ourselves, we become harsh, cruel even, as if kindness is something we have to earn, even from our own inner world. Let me tell you something that could change your life. The way you talk to yourself becomes the way you see yourself. and the way you see yourself becomes the way you live your life. If you speak to yourself like a failure, you will walk through life like you're undeserving of joy. If you tell yourself you're not good enough, not smart enough, not lovable enough, you'll move through every relationship, every opportunity with doubt, with hesitation, with a ceiling over your own spirit. That inner dialogue, that quiet voice that no one else hears but you, it's shaping you. We think confidence is something that comes from what people say about us, from success, from applause, from validation. But the deepest, most lasting confidence, it comes from the voice inside. And most people, their inner voice is not a cheerleader, it's a critic. It says things like, "Why can't you get it right? You always mess things up. You're not as good as them. You'll never be enough." And the more you say those things, the more your spirit begins to shrink. You don't need anyone else to doubt you, because you've already internalized that doubt for yourself. But what if you started speaking to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love, someone trying, someone tired, someone learning? You wouldn't berate them. You wouldn't say, "You're pathetic." You wouldn't say, "You're a failure." You'd say, "It's okay. You're doing the best you can. You had a rough day, but I still believe in you. You don't need to be perfect to be worthy." And I promise you, if you spoke to yourself with that kind of softness, that kind of grace, that kind of love, you would start to rise. Because confidence doesn't grow in criticism. It grows in compassion. You don't become stronger by bullying yourself. You become stronger by loving yourself into growth, by learning how to encourage yourself the way a coach would. A real coach doesn't just scream when you fall. They say, "Get up. You've got this. Let's try again." And every day you have that same opportunity to choose what kind of coach you want to be to yourself. Do you want to be the voice that drags you down, or the one that helps you rise? Let me be clear. Speaking kindly to yourself doesn't mean lying. It doesn't mean ignoring mistakes. It means telling yourself the truth with love. It means saying, "Yes, you messed up, but that doesn't make you a mess." It means saying that wasn't your best moment, but it's not the whole of who you are. It means giving yourself the grace to grow, just like you would give anyone else. Because healing starts with language. Growth begins with language. Identity forms through language. And if the words in your mind are negative, sharp, unforgiving, then your identity will reflect that pain. But if your words become gentler, more truthful, more encouraging, then your identity starts to shift. Not because your circumstances change, but because you do. You start to believe that you deserve better. You start to believe that you're capable of more. You start to see yourself not through the eyes of your past, but through the potential of your present. And confidence, real confidence, it comes from looking in the mirror and liking the person you're becoming. Not because they're perfect, but because they're honest, kind, resilient, and still growing. You don't have to speak with flowery affirmations you don't believe. You just have to start noticing. Notice when you say something cruel to yourself. Pause. Ask, Would I say this to my little sister, my best friend, my child? If not, then don't say it to you. You deserve your own kindness. You deserve to be spoken to with respect, especially by the one person who is with you every moment of your life, yourself. So the next time you look in the mirror, I hope you pause. I hope you look at your reflection and speak like someone who is rooting for you. I hope you say, you're still here. You're still trying. You're still worthy. And I'm proud of you. Because the more often you say those words, the more you'll believe them. And once you believe them, everything changes. You are always listening. Every word you speak to yourself becomes a brick, either building you up or boxing you in. Your self-talk is not background noise. It is the foundation of your confidence, your healing, your joy. Speak to yourself with the same love you give to others. Not because you're perfect, but because you're deserving. Because you've been fighting silent battles. Because you've shown up when it was hard. Because you're still becoming. And that journey, it deserves kindness. Every step of the way. The most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. So honor it, nurture it, speak life into it, because when you change the way you talk to yourself, you change the way you walk through the world.